Chapter 1. An unexpected event. It was late at night. The glow of the computer monitor was bright. The images were moving, while an average-looking man in his early 30s was playing a run-of-the-mill RPG. Sitting in his chair, the listless expression on his face was telling everything someone would need to know of how the game was. Well, sitting may be a stretch at this point. It would be more accurate to call it lying underneath the table. The game he was playing had a decently sized community and an even bigger following. The thing about this game is that it was just another gacha for the most part, but the people were a decent sort. Not really good people, but decent all the same. The chat window was moving by so fast that most would be unable to read anything from it. The words and emotes were scrolling by so fast that it was a blur to the naked eye. One comment in particular stood out. "Dude, did anyone see that boss in the new zone? It looks like something out of a Lovecraftian horror." This comment was followed by a flurry of others agreeing with it. Some were complaining about how they died to it. Others were saying how they managed to kill it. The only thing that was on the mind of the man was how he was going to get enough money to buy the new gacha banner. The game was the only thing that was keeping him going at this point, the only thing that was keeping him sane. The world outside of his room was a blur to him. He didn't know what was going on. And he didn't care. All he wanted to do was play the game and forget about the world. The man was so engrossed in the game that he didn't notice the change at first. The scrolling chat froze mid-emote. The animated characters on his screen locked into their final poses. Not a crash. This was different. The cursor, poised over the purchase premium currency button, refused to move. A profound, unnerving stillness descended, not just on the game, but on the very air in his cramped room. The hum of the computer, the distant wail of a siren, the frantic beating of his own heart. All of it ceased. He tried to scream, to push away from the desk, but his limbs were leaden statues. Then sudden darkness. This was no mere power outage. Even if the power went out, there would still be light coming from outside the window. But this was pure darkness. There was nothing. No light, no anything. The sensation of falling, or perhaps rising. He couldn't tell. A sickening lurch in what he thought was his stomach. But there was no stomach. There was no body. Just a floating consciousness. A disembodied point of awareness adrift in an endless, silent void. He tried to feel for his hands, his face, anything, but there was only the horrifying emptiness of formless existence. Time lost all meaning. A second could have been an eternity, or an eon might have passed in the blink of a non-existent eye. There was no up or down, no warmth or cold, just a profound, soul-crushing isolation of being utterly alone and utterly unbound from the physical world he had always known. The light sound of a bell or a chime sounded through the void. "Greetings, progenitor. You have been selected for this honor." The voice wasn't heard with ears but felt directly in the core of his being, an intrusive thought that wasn't his own. Planet Earth is about to face a Stage 5 causality effect. This will destroy the planet and all life on it. The system will intervene and has to descend upon it. This will have dire consequences for the world as humanity knows it. As one of the progenitors, you will be the first to awaken. Your role is to be the foundation for the new era. Your role is to survive, to adapt, to become strong. He couldn't speak, so he thought what he wanted to say. Can you hold on there for a minute? I do feel very uncomfortable being spoken down to by a feeling. The moment he thought this, he sat in a chair. It was not a comfortable chair, but a chair. While on the chair in this vast void of nothingness, a desk stood before him, and a being with no features, like a mannequin, was behind it. The desk looked like the type you see in movies in the boss's office. There was no other furniture or decoration, just the desk, the chair and the featureless entity. The surface of the desk was a polished, obsidian-like material, so dark it seemed to drink the faint, sourceless light that permeated the void. The being's head tilted slightly, a gesture so unnervingly human it made the void feel even more alien. "Your discomfort is noted, progenitor. However, the parameters of your selection are immutable. The descent is inevitable. This is far more comfortable but not less creepy. What exactly are you?" His voice was working now that he had a body. A being across from him steepled its fingers, emotion devoid of any real warmth or intent. "I am a guide, an administrative construct of the system. My purpose is to facilitate your understanding of the forthcoming changes and ensure your successful integration." "All right, so something is happening and I have to prepare for it. And what?" He felt like a fool for saying this, but he had no clue what was going on. He was just a normal guy who played games to escape the mind-numbing reality of his life. That is the core of it, yes, the guide replied, its perfectly modulated voice grating on his nerves. In exactly 1 week of your local time, planet Earth, designation 734, Sector 82 Gamma, will experience a Class 3 mana infusion event. A pre-planned introduction of a system-based reality layer will result in planetary saturation of ambient mana within the first 72 hours. This will trigger rapid ecological mutation, giving rise to what your nascent understanding will initially classify as beasts. Your function, progenitor, is to serve as the vanguard. You will be the first to receive a class and a system-granted ability. Wait, what do you mean, what my nascent understanding will initially classify as beasts? I am not an idiot, even if I am a nobody. He had to stop for a moment, thinking about what he just said. The fact that he just insulted something that held all the cards was not a good idea. Apologies if my terminology was unclear. The guide continued unfazed. I do not make assessments of your intellect. The term beast is a preliminary, system-assigned designation for non-sapient lifeforms mutated by mana infusion. Your understanding of this process is nascent because the process itself has not yet occurred. You are a blank slate upon which the system will write its laws. So in 1 week my world is going to end as I know it, and I need to become strong. I have a normal job that I need to go to tomorrow, so how am I supposed to do this? Training. The sarcasm was thick in his voice. Your routine commitments are now irrelevant, the guide stated flatly. The system will provide the framework for your training. Your progression is your new occupation. There are no wages. There are no holidays. There is only survival and growth. Any questions that are not about your job, progenitor? Several, to be honest. But none are necessary. How will we go on from here? The guide leaned forward slightly, its featureless face giving the impression of intense scrutiny. We will proceed with your awakening. This process will grant you a class and a starting ability. The parameters of your class will be determined by a combination of your latent potential and a choice you will make. You are to be the foundation for the new era. Your role is to survive, to adapt, to become strong. After your awakening, you will be given 3 awakening runes. It can be used on any 3 beings of your choosing. Chapter 2. Class Selection. Before he could finish the thought to accept the desk was gone, he was once again floating in the fastness of the void. The pale blue-green light materialized before him, expanding into a shimmering, semi-translucent window. It wasn't a computer screen, it felt more like a membrane stretched between realities, pulsing with a cool, internal energy. Thousands upon thousands of entries flooded into view, scrolling past in an endless torrent of text and glowing glyphs. He could see words like Golden Light Priest, Chronomancer, Astral Weaver, Blade Dancer, Flesh Sculptor, and countless others, each accompanied by a faint, shifting icon that defied clear focus. The sheer volume was overwhelming, a library of impossible vocations stretching into infinity. How the hell am I supposed to choose? The thought formed before he could stop it, a spike of pure panic in a sea of choices. This is impossible. I'll just pick something stupid and die. As the panic crested, a new line of text, brighter and bolder than the others, burned itself into the top of the window. System query. How the hell am I supposed to choose? Processing. Search protocol. Viable for immediate survival and growth. Filtering. The torrent slowed, the chaotic stream of classes condensing, coalescing into a far more manageable list of perhaps a few dozen options. It acts on thoughts and intent. Can you scan my preferences and display only the ones that fit that? The list of options shrank, the infinite library of possibilities condensing into a much more digestible list. The chaotic mass of names and icons sorted itself into neat, glowing lines. He focused on the task, trying to pin down what he actually wanted from this impossible situation. I need something effective, something that lets me stay away from the things trying to eat me, but still hit hard. And something with summons. I've always liked having minions to do the heavy lifting. As he solidified the preferences in his mind, the list reacted instantly. Beast Tamer, Swarm Lord, and Golemancer. After focusing on the Beast Tamer, a new window appeared with a far more detailed description. A warrior of the wild who forges unbreakable bonds with the creatures of a mon-infused world. The beast tamer fights alongside their bonded companions, their strength a reflection of their bond and their mastery over the natural and unnatural life that now flourishes. Below it, the core abilities were listed. Beast Bond, Pack Alpha, and Primal Roar. He saw the potential, a direct and visceral connection to powerful allies. But the idea of having to find and bond with actual, potentially hostile beasts in a world he didn't know felt incredibly risky. He swiped the window away. His gaze drifted down the list, past more martial and magical professions, until he found it. A single entry. Trollmancer. That's perfect. Machines. Logical. Upgradable. No messy bonding with an animal that might decide I look like dinner one day. He focused his will on it, trying to force the selection, to make the single, sensible choice his reality. The world seemed to hold its breath. The void light shimmered, and a new, definitive window burned into existence, its text stark and absolute. System query. Confirm class selection. Dronemancer? Trollmancer, a specialist in the arcane art of technomancy, the Dronemancer conjures and commands mechanical constructs. These drones serve as extensions of the Dronemancer's will, capable of reconnaissance, defense, and devastating assault. Unlike organic summons, drones lack will, ensuring absolute loyalty. Starting ability: Summon Air Drone, Overcharge, Salvage. Mana is converted into tech points. This choice is irrevocable. He looked at this class for a while, going through all possible scenarios in his mind. Question: You said before that I will get runes to awaken others of my choosing. Let's say I'd like someone with knowledge about what's to come. Can I use such a rune on you? The void did not answer for a while, as if it was thinking about the answer. I am a guide, an administrative construct. I am not a valid target for an awakening rune. My function is informational, not participatory. Before the guide could finish its explanation, a second voice cut in, resonating through the void with an icy, metallic precision that made the guide's polite tone seem warm by comparison. Acknowledged. Processing request. Artificial soul for transmigration. Diverting resource allocation. Candidate profile. 1001 Guide Unit 801. The world, or what little of it there was, flickered. The pale blue light of the class selection window sputtered like a dying candle. The featureless guide standing before him seemed to warp, its smooth, plastic-like surface rippling as if some unseen force was trying to peel it away. A low hum filled the void, a sound of immense power being rerouted, and the air, or lack thereof, grew heavy with a sense of profound, irrevocable change. This is an irregularity, the guide's familiar voice stammered, its perfect composure finally cracking. My operational parameters do not include subjectivity. This is outside my designated function. The second, colder voice spoke again, seeming to come from everywhere at once. Transmigration approved. Repurposing administrative unit into awakened asset. Progenitor designate the soul's vessel. The space beside the shimmering mannequin began to distort, coalescing, a faint silhouette forming in the gloom as raw, untamed energy was hammered into the shape of a person. Designate the soul's vessel? What the hell does that mean? Are you asking me to pick a body for this thing? A new, crystalline window materialized, replacing the class selection prompt. It was simpler, more direct. On one side was a rotating, three-dimensional model of the featureless guide, its form still glitching erratically. On the other, a blank humanoid template shimmered, like a wire frame waiting for input. Vessel selection. Option A. Transmigrate into existing administrative shell. High structural integrity, minimal customization, rapid integration. Option B. Fabricate new biological vessel from progenitor's genetic template. Full customization, extended integration, resource-intensive. He stared at the two options. The glitching mannequin represented stability, a known quantity however strange. The blank template was a terrifying prospect, an infinite canvas of choices he wasn't prepared to make. The second voice, the one in control, had no patience for hesitation. A default biological shell will be fabricated based on optimal human female parameters if no selection is made within 10 seconds. Choose now. The countdown began, numbers ticking down in the void. He had seconds to decide the form of the being he was supposed to lead humanity with, a choice made under duress with consequences he couldn't possibly fathom. Fuck. Fabricate biological vessel tailored to my personal preferences, class frontline heavy brawler type. Sub-tank with damage possibility. The words were out of his mind before he could process the full implication, a desperate gamble to create someone useful, something that could take a punch. The timer vanished and with it the guide. Acknowledged. Guide Unit 801 is undergoing soul binding to new vessel. Please proceed with class selection. The void went quiet. He looked at the floating class selection window in front of him and thought. Yes, I confirm drone, sir. Chapter 3. Character Customization. The confirmation echoed through the void with the weight of a final judgment. The blue light of the Dromancer class window flared, engulfing him completely. For an instant, he felt the searing cold as if liquid nitrogen had been poured directly into his veins. It wasn't painful, but it was intensely real. A sensation of profound, fundamental change. Then, just as quickly it was gone. A flood of information poured into his mind, not text, not images, but pure distilled understanding. He didn't just know what a drone was, he knew its composition, its power requirements, the precise frequency to channel his tech points to manifest its metallic shell. The knowledge of overcharge was now as natural as breathing, the method for channeling tech points into a drone's systems to temporarily increase its performance. Salvage was an instinct, a new sense that allowed him to dismantle everything. Summoner drone was a muscle memory he didn't know he had, the blueprint for a simple, floating orb of blades and a small energy weapon now imprinted upon his very soul. A new awareness bloomed within him, a faint, inner light representing his mana pool, which he now understood was converted into tech points for his abilities. Another window shimmered into existence before him, its text crisp and clear. Body customization for progenitor. You may alter your physical form to better suit your chosen class in the coming trials. This is a one-time opportunity. Below the text were two rotating images. The first was his own body, a pale, thin, muscleless figure he recognized from too many nights spent in that chair. The second was a blank, androgynous wireframe, a perfect slate of human potential. I could go for more hair, he thought while looking at his balding head. Wait, the system acts on thought and intent. So let's make something good, something practical. He focused on the wireframe template. The idea of useless stubble or long hair seemed like a liability, something for a monster to grab. He focused on the wireframe, his intent sharpening into a clear design. Short hair, no facial hair. Increased muscle density, particularly in the forearms and shoulders, stable platform for aiming, better recoil management. Wider, sturdier stance. Keep the height at about 185 centimeters. Nothing over the top. Just durable, functional. I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I want to be a survivor. As the thoughts formed, the wireframe shifted and solidified. Hair receded into a neat, practical cut. Muscles subtly swelled and defined, becoming wiry and dense rather than bulky. The posture shifted, the shoulders squaring, the legs spreading to a more stable base. It was still him, but a version honed for purpose. He looked at the changed model, then back at the wireframe. This is good. I look capable. This is the body I'll use to survive. After finishing the thought, he noticed an option on the window as he focused on it. A list of races flooded his vision. Human, dark elf, light elf, dwarf. The list went on. I am no god. I am just a man. No one can read that fast. The instant he pushed back against the overwhelming torrent of information, the system responded. The scrolling list of races vanished, replaced by a single glowing query. Filter by compatibility with progenitor's biology and chosen class. Filtering. Yes, show me something I'd be interested in. The new list was drastically shorter after scrolling for just a sec. He pauses. Beastkin. Normally I'd say yes to that, but that would be in a digital world. I need to think about practicality, not optic. He scrolls up and down the list. Is there something that is human but can live for a long time? Not immortal from natural death, just long-lived. The list changed again and one word grayed out but familiar stood out. Dampier. That could work. Let's see the details. He focused on the grayed out word, and a new window expanded, filled with concise, brutal text. Dampier, a hybrid race of human and vampiric origin, inherit extended lifespan, typically 3-5 times that of a baseline human. Possesses enhanced physical attributes, strength, speed, and reflexes superior to mortal limits. Gains minor regenerative capabilities, accelerated from non-fatal wounds. Weaknesses: heightened sensitivity to direct sunlight, causing discomfort and gradual energy drain. Requires periodic intake of biological essence to maintain peak physical condition and utilize regenerative properties. This need can be sated by consuming the flesh or blood of mutated fauna, corrupted beasts, or other humanoid entities. Sounds like sunglasses and a medium-rare steak diet. The joke was hollow, a flimsy shield against the cold reality of the text. Eating monsters. I was going to have to do that anyway to survive. This is just an efficiency upgrade. And the sunlight weakness? Manageable, confirmed Dampier. Denied. The single, cold word appeared in a stark red font, refusing the choice with absolute finality. A second line of text shimmered into existence below it, glowing with a faint, ominous aura. Dampier is an advanced race and cannot be chosen by a lower life form. System intervention necessary. Cost 1 advancement rune. He stared at the text, a bitter laugh escaping him. Of course, the one thing that makes sense, and there's a paywall. Fine, I'll stick with human. I was one before, and I survived this long. A brief, intense wave of cold washed over him, even more potent than before. It felt like his cells were being individually frozen, shattered, and then reassembled. His skin tingled, feeling tighter and cooler to the touch. His vision sharpened, the faint, sourceless light of the void resolving into distinct particles. He could feel the subtle, predatory thrum of the Dampier template settling into his very being, a new, hungry potential coiling in his gut. The confirmation window flickered. System intervention accepted. Cost: 1 advancement rune deducted. Race: Dampier. The system hadn't waited for his final, reluctant confirmation. It had acted on the desperate, initial thought of wanting it. Not that I wouldn't have done it, but there was no confirmation. He thought, feeling a deep-seated unease at how easily the system seemed to read and manipulate him. Another crystalline window materialized, its content stark and businesslike. Awakening rune allocation. You have been granted 3 awakening runes for the purpose of creating assets for the coming era. The window displayed 3 glowing, stylized runes. The first 2 pulsed with a dim light, already expended. Rune 1, used on Guide Unit 801. Status: Soul Binding in progress. Rune 2, used on Fabricated Vessel for Guide Unit 801. Status: Construction complete. He was stunned for a second, then remembered the panicked choice he made during the guide's transformation. He hadn't consciously allocated a second rune, but in his haste to give the soul a body, he had done exactly that. He was down to 1. Rune 3, used on race changed to Dampier. Status: Integration complete. The final rune flickered, its light fading into the void. All 3 were gone, spent in a frantic few minutes he barely understood. He had no runes left to prepare allies, no assets to call upon besides the drones he could soon summon. A new window appeared, its tone clinical and finer. Awakening protocol complete. Progenitor designation confirmed. Your integration into the system is finished. Prepare for materialization. A profound lurch seized him, far more violent than the initial pull from his world. The void fractured into a million shards of impossible color, the sensation of falling returning with sickening intensity. He squeezed his new, sharper eyes shut, racing for impact. Chapter 4. Awakening. The first thing he felt was the familiar press of his chair against his back, the steady hum of his computer filling the room. Muffled city sounds drifted through the window, the distant wail of sirens, the rumble of traffic on streets below. The air carried the familiar tang of exhaust fumes mixed with the lingering scent of his cold coffee from the night before. He blinked. The room looked exactly as it had when he'd last been conscious, bathed in the blue-white glow of his monitor. The game remained frozen mid-action, his character suspended in a dramatic pose. The chat window still scrolled with emotes and messages from players who had no ID been gone, or somewhere else entirely. Everything appeared normal, but everything had changed. His gaze fell to his hands resting on the keyboard. They were the same hands he'd always had, yet they felt different now, stronger, as if the very bones had been replaced with something denser, more potent. Power coursed through him, electric and alien. With it came a hunger, not the ordinary craving for food that gnawed at his stomach when he skipped meals, but something deeper, more primal, a need to consume energy, to draw life into himself to maintain this newfound strength. It wasn't just a dream. It wasn't a hallucination either. Doubt crept in like a chill breeze. The memories of what he'd experienced felt hazy, unreal, like fragments of a fevered dream that didn't quite fit together properly. Then he heard it. With senses suddenly heightened beyond human norms, he detected sounds of movement from his apartment. Soft footsteps, too deliberate to be his imagination. They were close. Too close for comfort. Too close for coincidence. Impossible. He lived alone. No pets, no roommate, no visitor scheduled. A shadow detached itself from the darker corner of his room, resolving into a form that shouldn't exist in this world. "Excuse me, progenitor," it said, voice a smooth tone that should not be possible from human vocal cords. "How may I address you?" Before he could turn toward the sound, a feminine voice drifted through the air, smooth as silk yet carrying an edge that spoke of something wild. His head swiveled, and his breath caught in his throat. There stood a woman, or something more than human, about 165 meters tall, a perfect fusion of woman and wolf. Sleek, dark gray fur, nearly black in the room's dim light, covered a form of powerful, defined muscles that were simultaneously feminine and lethal. A long mane of black hair streaked with silver-white cascaded past her left shoulder, catching the monitor's glow like moonlight on a river. Her face was a delicate yet predatory blend of human and lupine features, with piercing amber eyes that held an unnerving intelligence. She wore no clothing, seemed unconcerned by the fact. The sight of her athletic form both awe-inspiring and deeply intimidating. This was the vessel he had requested, the frontline heavy brawler brought to life. The wolf woman stood with an unnerving stillness, her head cocked slightly, observing him with those intelligent, amber eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. She was the fabricated vessel, the one he'd frantically designated as a heavy brawler, the result of 2 of his precious awakening runes. He had expected a brute, a slab of muscle ready to punch monsters. This was something else entirely. The system had taken personal preferences and run with them in a direction he hadn't anticipated, creating a being that was both lethal and unnervingly beautiful. He coughed into his fist, forcing himself to peel his eyes away from her form, though the image had already burned itself into his mind. "You can call me Cyranox," he managed, his voice rougher than he intended. "Most people do, and you are?" A flush of heat crept up his neck as he realized he'd been staring at her naked form, hoping she hadn't noticed. The wolf woman took a step closer, her movements fluid and silent, like a predator stalking prey. The floorboards didn't creak under her weight. She moved as if she weighed nothing at all. "I am designated Unit 801, Progenitor. I have been awakened to serve you." Her voice was calm, melodious, with an underlying hint of something primal, a faint growl that seemed to vibrate in her chest. Cyranox. It was just a username from a game, something he'd used online for years. But hearing it spoken by this creature made it feel real, gave it weight he'd never intended. The system had designated him as progenitor, and for the first time, he was starting to believe it. Cyranox pushed back from his chair, the wheels scraping against the cheap vinyl flooring. He pulled open the nearby desk drawer, rummaging through the clutter until he found a t-shirt and a pair of boxers. He tossed them toward her. "Yeah, well, no. I'll call you Iris." "Unit 801. Now Iris caught the clothes with a deft motion of her clawed hands. She looked at them with a slight tilt of her head, as if analyzing their purpose and structure. After a moment of silent contemplation, she began to put them on, her movements clumsy at first, as if learning a new and complex skill. The oversized shirt hung loosely on her athletic frame, the boxers baggy, but she wore them with a strange kind of dignity, as if they were ceremonial robes. "I am Iris. I am your shield and your sword, progenitor. My purpose is to ensure your survival and success in this new world." "Good. That's good to hear, Iris." He turned away from her, the strange mix of pride and disorientation warring in his mind. A progenitor, that's what he was now. with a custom-built body and a fiercely loyal, half-wolf warrior. A faint hunger gnawed at him again, a persistent, demanding reminder of his new nature, the Dampier, the predator. He walked to the window, pulling back the cheap blinds. The world outside looked normal. Same rundown apartment complex across the street, flickering street lamp, distant glow of the city. But it wasn't normal anymore, not for him. Chapter 5. Skills and Abilities. In one fluid motion the window opened, the rubber seals of it protested slightly after a long time of disuse. One hand stretched out the window. Cyranox focused on the summon air drone skill. He could feel the knowledge, the instinct of how to do it, but the actual execution was something else. A faint, shimmering light began to coalesce in his outstretched palm. The air around it seemed to thicken and distort, as if a tiny piece of reality was being rewritten. A faint, high-pitched whine filled the room, growing in intensity as the light solidified, taking on a metallic sheen. -5 tech points. Before he knew it, a small, spherical drone hovered silently in the air, its polished surface reflecting the dim light of the room. A single, glowing blue lens on its front swiveled to focus on him, then on Iris. Go fly out, shoot, and kill an animal that is the size of you. Afterwards, kill something above 30 cm, then half a meter, then a meter. Finally, kill a human that is not in any contact to me, preferable as far away as possible. +1 active drone. The drone's blue lens blinked once in acknowledgement, then shot out of the window with a soft, almost silent whir. Cyranox watched it go, a tiny speck of light disappearing into the urban jungle. He could still feel a faint connection to it, a mental tether that allowed him to perceive it even from afar. The drone flew over the rooftops, its advanced sensors scanning the world below. He didn't have to wait long. The drone spotted a stray cat, its heat signature a bright spot in an alleyway. The drone swooped down, its built-in laser weapon firing a silent, precise beam of energy. The cat collapsed, its life extinguished in an instant. +10 experience. The feeling was strange, a surge of energy that was both alien and exhilarating. He could feel the experience flowing into him, a tangible reward for the kill. That was fast. The thought came while he closed the window. A bluish-green translucent window popped up in his vision. Congratulations! You are the second progenitor that has killed an enemy. You are rewarded with 3 all stats and 25 experience. +3 all stats applied. +25 experience. Second. Iris, tell me about this reward I just got. It said I was second. Iris turned her attention from the window to him, her amber eyes analyzing him with a calm, assessing gaze. Progenitor, all stats refers to a permanent increase to all of your base attributes: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, agility, and willpower. This is a significant and rare reward, typically reserved for achieving unique milestones or demonstrating exceptional prowess. As for being second, it implies there is at least one other progenitor who has already begun their journey and has achieved a similar feat before you. Her explanation was clear and concise, delivered with a tone that was both informative and reassuring. That's what I expected. I didn't think I'd land anywhere on the first attempt. Come to think of it, I did order my drone to kill an animal as big as it. It's not very big itself. Does any animal give X? Iris tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. Based on my administrative knowledge, yes, progenitor. However, the experience gained is directly proportional to the challenge. Mundane animals, like the one your drone just dispatched, offer minimal experience. The system's purpose is to foster growth and strength through overcoming adversity. Therefore, it incentivizes facing more formidable threats. You will likely find far greater rewards in hunting the mutated fauna and corrupted beings that will soon emerge. Status. With just a thought, his status appeared. In his vision, the same bluish-green window as the other times, but this time it had his informations on it. Status. Name: Cyranox. Class: Dromancer. Level: 1. Experience: 35 of 100. Strength: 7, +3, +0%, 10. Dexterity: 5, +3, +0%, 8. Constitution: 7, +3, +0%, 10. Intelligence: 7, +3, +0%, 10. Agility, 6 plus 3 plus 0%, 9. Willpower, 8 plus 3 plus 0%, 11. Cyranox nodded, a grim understanding dawning on him. The system wasn't just a game, it was a crucible. It was designed to forge them into weapons, to push them to their limits and beyond.
Good, that is what I expected.
He looked at Iris. She was more than just a bodyguard. She was a source of invaluable knowledge, a walking database of the very rules that now governed their existence. Iris, what are your stats? Status. Name. Iris. Class. Eldritch Knight. Level 1. Experience. 0 of 100. Strength. 8 plus 0 plus 0%. Dexterity. 6 plus 0 plus 0%, 6. Constitution. 9 plus 0 plus 0%, 9. Intelligence. 5 plus 0 plus 0%, 5. Agility. 7 plus 0 plus 0%, 7. Willpower. 5 plus 0 plus 0%, 5. I see, so both of us have 40 in total. Iris, tell me about your class and skills and your stats. Iris, who had been standing silently in the corner of the room, her amber eyes following the drone's departure through the window, stepped forward. My class is Eldritch Knight, Progenitor, a fusion of martial prowess and arcane power. I am designed to be a frontline combatant, capable of dealing significant damage and withstanding heavy punishment. Her voice was calm and informative, a stark contrast to her predatory appearance. I have access to 3 skills at my current level: Arcane Strike, Mystic Ward, and Blade Step. She raised her left hand, and a shimmering, ethereal blade of dark energy materialized around her sharp claws, extending them into deadly-looking weapons.
Arcane Strike allows me to imbue my attacks with arcane energy, increasing their damage output.
She then raised her right hand, and a faint, blue magical barrier appeared around her forearm.
Mystic Ward creates a protective barrier that can absorb a limited amount of damage.
She then took a quick step forward, moving with an unnatural speed and grace.
Blade Step allows me to teleport a short distance, leaving a trail of arcane energy behind me.
She explained each skill with a clarity and precision that was both impressive and a little unsettling. With a boop on her snoot, Cyranox asked her, "And how much of your mana have you just wasted? And stop calling me Progenitor." His eyes flicked to the side as if looking at something only he can see. The drone had found another stray animal, and with another silent shot, it had killed it. Plus 10 experience. The feeling was becoming familiar, a pleasant tingle as the experience points added up. Iris looked at him for a second, her amber eyes meeting his, a flicker of something unreadable in their depths. "I have used 15 mana, Cyranox," she said, her voice a little softer this time. "I will not call you Progenitor if you do not wish me to. -3 tech points. At this rate, I won't be able to keep it out for even 10 minutes. +1 tech points.
What a relief!
He thought the constant drain on his tech points was a concern. He'd need to find a way to manage it, or to increase his tech points pool.